you are not a business owner. You are a general manager for a provider. Can you tell me about the difference about how you look at a business there?
Really, there's no difference. I look at it as the business owner.
Yeah.
I don't think like a business owner, I can't make the right decisions.
That's good.
I don't want to be around second guessing myself if I can't afford that. We can't do this. We can't do that.
Yep.
And I set that relationship up very early with the owner.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's very much operations I do, finance he does.
Yep.
But I can make decisions that he doesn't do.
Yeah.
He's pretty supportive in that.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. How did you get to that level of trust being the general manager?
Was in the interview. In the interview I did, the interview was very casual. It was just more like a chat than an interview. And I set the boundary from there saying, if you want me to come and do this, because I knocked back the job 3 times before a company interview. I said, I'm fiercely loyal to people. So I knocked it back 3 times and they convinced me to come just for the interview. So I thought, well, I'm one in, all in. I just laid out how I wanted to do it. And he went, that's what I want. How much do you want to be paid? Settled on a wage, started 2 weeks later.
Yeah. Amazing.
And I was lucky that the person that I was working for, I went back to him and said, look, I've been offered this job. I've been offered this much money. And it was like 30 grand wage bump. And he just went, I can't compete with that. Take the job.
That's a confident business owner even there as well.
Yeah.
I like the fact that you got headhunted really
I did.
for that job.
Yeah.
It wasn't just you weren't, from the sounds of it, you weren't just there.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah.
I got headhunted off LinkedIn. They found me on LinkedIn and I had the recruiting agency come me 3 times. I kept going, no, I'm not interested. No, I'm not interested. And then after the second time, I actually looked up the company. I looked at their website, and looked at reviews, and I made some contacts with people about it and didn't hear any bad things.
Okay.
So I think, well, let's go and have a chat.
Okay.
Had the chat and then I went, well, this is what I want to do.
Great. Okay. I think there's a massive lesson in there for owners who are at that point where they're thinking about that management level person, because often they kind of jump in and go, here, I've got a really good support worker who's been helping me with rosters.
Yeah.
They should be my operations or general manager now. And it's a big shift.
It is.
Right?
In your management team, they need to be able to think business-wise. They can't think business-like.
Yes. It's a completely different skill set.
Completely.
And I might get cancer for this, but it's actually okay. And I know you're not particularly like, you are actually people focused, but your general managers have to be people focused necessarily. They're there to generally manage the business.
You can say I'm people focused, but I'm also I would say I'm more business focused.
Yeah.
Like you ask my wife, she would say I'm 100% business focused.
Yeah.
All my goals at the moment are around business.
Yeah.
I would say I'm business focused first, but I do like to protect the people that work for me.
Yeah.
I was a friend of his.
Yeah.
Because I had a manager in Chelsea that used to say to me that as a manager, your staff have to believe that you'll take a bullet.
Yep.
For that film. My admin staff that I've got have to believe that I'm going to take the bullet and they'll walk through the wall.
Yeah, mate. So you came into this business. How long ago have you been in Coastwide?
Coastwide? It'll be 2 years in September.
2 years September. And you told me a bit of your story. I'd love you to just recap. What did it look like when you first got there, and what has that journey been like over the last 2 years?
So I've always said to Bryan, who's the owner, is that I wish you'd have told me how much crap you were in the interview. That wouldn't have scared me off. It would have excited me.
Okay.
Because I do like a challenge. So when I got there, it was a toxic work environment. The people that worked in the admin were not allowed to make any decisions. The staff were rated if they took days off. They were ridiculed. Their rosters were cut. All sorts of things to make it a very toxic work environment. And on day one, I went, right, WhatsApp's gone, get rid of it. We don't need it. Because WhatsApp is a HR nightmare.
Yep.
Anyone who's using WhatsApp, get rid of it right now. It's bad. And here's the thing, I think we pay $3,500, $4,000 for our CRM a month. It's got a functionality that you can use. So use that.
Yes.
All right. So then I had to go out then and find my 1%. And I knew who it was because I'd worked with her before.
Okay, great.
Right? I went and found her, and I got her at the right time when she was disillusioned in what she was doing. And I brought her in and she goes, I don't know if I can do this. And I'm saying, I just said to her, I would have you here if I didn't think you could do this. Right? And also you can do this, this, and this.
Yeah.
Right? And the this, and this excited her. And then she went out and taught herself the CRM, and now she's my subject matter expert from us.
Yeah.
My CRM.
So she actually went out and learned the CRM inside out so she could use it as well. She went and learned the tool of her trade.
Yes, she did.
Yeah.
Very much so.
I think that's a really good marker of someone who is your 1%er, person who's really invested in what you're doing.
And she's my 1% that lives 4 hours away. Right? And she did, when I first employed her, she didn't. I mean, she comes to me and her husband or partner got a really good job offer. She's going, we can't afford us to take it.
Yeah.
And I went into Bargave and I said, she's leaving. He went, no, she's not. Just give her a computer and she can work remotely. And this coming from a man who hates remote working. He doesn't like it. And it's worked with her.
Yeah.
Works really, really well.
Yeah, amazing. So good. Tell me about what made you decide to jump into Profitable Provider.
Look, I'd stalked you for about 18 months. And what it was really, I'd always wanted to do it, but I never had an owner that was prepared to pay.
Okay.
And I'd done your month for free. Then I walked into Bargave and said, we need to do this. And then he went, do we really? I said, well, I need to do this. And he went, so if you think it's worth it, I'm going to pay.
Okay.
So that's how we got in.
Yeah, amazing.
And I remember you said to me on one of the first one-on-ones we had, you're not the owner. How committed are you to? And I said, I think like I'm, and I think like I'm spending the money, so I will beat everything you have.
Amazing.
Yeah. I think I've missed about 3 all up. One of them was probably while I was in hospital.
Yes. Yeah. Look, you've had some stuff along the way, but I can see you haven't been at all faltering. We do keep record who's on calls, but probably not down to that, the minutiae of exactly how many, but you've definitely been there a lot.
Yeah.
Which is fantastic.
Well, I think with paying money, that's money we could be spending on other things like marketing or something else. Yeah. So let's get the full benefit of it.
Let's get everything out of it. Let's juice it for everything we can.
Wring its neck.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's so good. So tell me about the journey you've had inside Profitable Provider so far.
So I started off, I would say I was very naive and full of myself. I'm still full of myself, but I'm not as naive anymore.
You back yourself.
I'm very opinionated about certain things, but it's taught me to temper some of that because not everyone wants to hear me yelling all the time. So I've had to teach myself to temper my opinion sometimes. Mm-hmm. And if that means me have to turn the camera off and turn the mic off and just sit in myself for a while, that's what I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
But for me, it's taught me, not just taught me, it's encouraged me to take opportunities. And I've actually, from Profitable Provider, I've been given opportunities. I've spoken at your summit this year. I've written a chapter in a book. I've done Tanya's Sydney and Melbourne Still Summits and spoke on panels. I've just been asked to go on one of her I can't say it.
Silophacy.
That's the one.
Yep.
Yeah. In the end of June. So afforded me opportunities to do what I wanted to do.
Amazing.
Because I don't just want to sit in the GM role. But you see a lot of GMs will just sit and go, well, you do that, you do that, you do that. Oh, that bores me to tears. I get very bored very quickly sitting doing that.
Nice. As GM, there's probably some crew listening who would love to know, what does the GM role actually look like? Because if they're an owner, they kind of think it just looks like my role, but somebody else doing it. What does it look like for you?
It is your role, what I'm doing. Because I see the guys that are owner operators and I see them getting burnt out very quickly because they've got no one to lean on. The time the post you lean on.
Yeah.
I take the shit away and sorry for swearing, but I set up very early that no worker would get to the director. Because that's not the director's role to deal with your stuff.
Yeah.
That's my role. And now I've actually offloaded some of that role to someone else.
Mm-hmm.
So my role is the conduit between director and worker, and it's blocked. It stops with me.
Yeah.
And if they want to challenge that, I'm quite prepared to have that fight.
One of the things you said there, obviously, it's your job to be the post to lean on, but also to take off some of that stuff off the owner. and let the owner operate in their area of genius, because we know there's certain levers we can pull, we get better outcomes from, right? And for most owners, it's not having more conversations with their support workers.
Yeah.
Right.
And my owner's quite upfront. He wants nothing to do with operations.
Yeah.
He's an accountant by trade. So finance is his thing.
Yeah.
So that's where he plays. Everything else is left to me. And I'm quite happy with that.
Brilliant.
I quite like it.
So I had you speak at Summit this year because we had a conversation around this idea of currency of communication. And when your support workers are working in the space, actually communicating in a way that allows the client to really get what they need. Can you break that down a little bit for me?
To me, it's about understanding your client wants. It's about finding out what your client, and it's all right to call them clients. So it's not just about their NDIS plan.
Yeah.
Because their NDIS plan is this much of their life. Where the rest, you've got to factor that in. You've got to factor in that not everyone wants to go bowling and not everyone wants to go for a cup of coffee. I don't run a coffee club. If you want to go to the coffee club, pick them up and take them for coffee on your own time.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't benefit them in any way. So for me, currency communication, finding out the things that benefit your client and make their life better.
Yeah, I love that. And I love that you had in there that their NDIS plan is only this much of their life.
Yeah.
Right? That's when we start to talk about like diversification and what business actually looks like when you're just trying to help people as opposed to fulfill a plan.
Yeah.
Right?
Anyone can read a plan and fulfill what that says and they go, but I defy you to tell me what independence means look like.
Yeah.
Because everyone says, I want to be independent. Nearly 100% of people have the goal, I want to be independent. How does that look when you are confined to a wheelchair for an O40 road? Your body is just not working. You cannot wash certain parts of your body. You can't wash your hair because you can't get. You cannot be 100% independent. You can be a certain amount of independence and we'll help you get there, but we're still going to have to be there to do some of your personal care, some of your cooking, some of that. So saying I want to be independent is, to me, it's almost an insult to NDIS, but to disabled people, because it just comes out of a drop-down menu when they do their plan. And it's nearly always their first short-term goal.
Yes. Yeah. Short-term goal, become completely independent.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, fair enough. Well, you've got a particular reference point for this.
Yeah.
About your why. Could you rush it?
My why is all about my son.
Yeah.
All about it. That's why I do it. That's why I speak out. That's why I do what I do. It's actually not just me. It's both me and Sonia are both in the industry, and that's both our whys.
Yeah, amazing.
I'll give you an example from yesterday. Like he goes to a D&D group on a Tuesday afternoon, and he catches the bus from the group to my work to come home. I got a phone call yesterday, 4:15. It was Jack. And he goes, I'm in trouble. I've caught the wrong bus. I went, all right, what do you want to do? And he went, I'll call you back. I hung the phone up. So I'm sitting there going, well, he's going to catastrophize here. I'm going to be looking for him on the side of the road. He rang me back 10 minutes later, as calm as, and goes, I found another bus. I'm on my way to you.
Awesome.
So 12 months ago, that would have been catastrophe, blubbering mess, sitting on the side of the road going, I don't know what to do. I'm the worst person in the world. Dad's never to leave work because I've made a mistake. He didn't do that.
Yep.
And that comes from the people, his support family around him, not just me and Sonia, but his worker that he's got, his psychologist that he's got, and his speechy. We all work commonly. The more I started out as that, I realised I'm not immortal. And he has to live in the world when we go. So let's make it so he can.
Yeah.
So everything we do for him is so he can live in the world when we've got him.
Yeah, awesome.
And that's probably our why, is to make sure that you can survive in the world without us.
And I think that is where we aim with independence, right? But again, that whole idea of, was it the great philosopher, Tommy Trout, please specify what supported independence really means.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah. Because they don't go together, them two words.
They often don't, no. Let's dive into how you operate, all right? Because you've already said that you treat it as if it's your business. So a lot of business owners can now start to look at this and go, all right, well, Dave has managed to grow the business from here to here, and you've done quite a good job. In fact, I think we looked at you've tripled the business in the last 2 years across SIL, community access, aged care, and also private pay clients. How do you make decisions about where you're going to go and what's going to happen next?
It's a really hard question. I don't know how I make decisions. Like, it's that 1 o'clock wake up thing.
Yep.
Where you wake up and go, oh, we can maybe do this. And I have a pen, pad, and a torch. The torch is most important, right? Because you don't want to turn the lights on and wake people up with them, right? So the torch is the most important tool where I often write. I write lots.
Yeah. Okay.
And I read lots. And now I play with ChatGPT. Right? So that's where my ideas come from. What I've written, I punch it in ChatGPT. Can we do this? And the back of my ChatGPT is be the hardware thing. You tell me when my ideas are crap and tell me how we fix it. So that's, I tend to argue with ChatGPT a lot, but that's where a lot of I make my decisions on. And then I look at what's going on in our community, because I'm not just involved in the business, I'm involved in things for schools. And I'm fortunate enough that I get to talk with high-level people inside the education department about that.
Yep.
So some of them conversations decide where we want to go. And then I look at my staff and decide whether, and my staff, I've got all good staff, but some of them just aren't suited to do high needs, special needs.
Yep.
Right? And I recognise that, so I don't take a lot of them on. But I've started to employ people that can do that.
Yes.
And some of the other decisions I make is around whether I can get the staff that I want to get to look after a certain site.
Yep.
Right? I've got a guy who's got Korsakoff's, and when I first started, we were getting 3 to 4 incidents a day, and he was highly strung, he's aggressive but not violent. And I went, we haven't got the right people. They don't understand how to de-escalate. They don't how to understand how to work with this guy. So I went and found people that I knew, and I offered a job, and I said, he goes, I can only give you 1 Sunday a month. Come on in. He now does every Sunday for me. But he worked out within the first week, this guy was a soccer nut. Played soccer all his life, loved it. So on that 1 Sunday a month, he took him to soccer.
Yep.
What? They now go to soccer every Sunday because that's his currency.
Yeah.
He doesn't blow up at anyone. He sits and he watches it. He talks to his old mates that he had from the soccer club. So to me, that's a win because he's not aggressive.
Yeah.
He's calm. He sleeps better. He's not relying on his medications as much on that day. So that how I make decisions on the client I've got, what we can do for that client. And then I look at where we can progress into other things. Like the project that I'm working on at the moment around the 5A swing. That's for me, and I've got no skin in the game yet, but I just see that there's problems in that area.
Yep.
So that's sort of how where there's a problem, I want to fix it.
That's the heart of an entrepreneur though, right?
Yes.
Is finding problems and solving them.
Yeah.
Right? I love where you said there that, when you have a sentence in your head and then it just immediately goes poof into nothingness?
Every day of my life.
Okay, good. Oh yeah. So I love what you said that you have the notepad by your bed.
Yep.
Right? I talk to a lot of providers who feel overwhelmed because there's so much they want to do, but don't really have a plan for it, or they don't know how it's going to apply or where it will fit in the scheme of things, or stuff that they just want to do, but there's not funding for it. And what you've done there is you've just created a bit of an outlet that it's not just stuck in here. It's now somewhere tangible you can do something with.
The other thing you look at too, Paul, is that all the stuff that I write, how much of it do I do?
Yeah.
Because I sit in it for the next couple of days and go, yeah, nah.
Was that bad pizza or was it a good idea?
Yeah.
Right?
So, and then like the final thing is that I've made connections with Rebecca in Adelaide, whose husband does FIFO.
Yep.
So I'm bouncing ideas off here all the time.
Amazing.
So that's probably one of the things we didn't touch on about what profitable want to give us. It's connections, which is I would say I've turned into friendships.
Amazing.
Because in that group of people that I'm friends with, we can say whatever we like and no one judges. Like some of our something. I would advise you don't read our chat because that's all. quite expletive, but it allows you to vent without anyone judging.
Yeah.
And as a business owner and the GM, there's not many places for you to vent to where people are not going to judge. You can't vent down. That makes you look weak. People don't trust you when you start to vent down.
That was one of the fundamentals that I wanted as part of Profitable Provider, was not just the coaching, but the community.
Yeah.
Because operating at this level, particularly in the community services type space, when everything's under strict funding, there's quite loose terms on how things operate.
Yeah.
Right? Everyone's very protective of how they do what they do, who they connect with, what they say, and it becomes very lonely very quickly.
Yeah.
And I mean, you come from other areas as well. I came from other business backgrounds where collaboration it's not a thing that you strive to. It just happens. It's not, we're collaborative. No. It's just what you do because you're in business.
Yeah. And that's probably from where I'm located. I'm Central Coast, New South Wales.
Yeah.
Collaboration doesn't happen a lot because there's this deep-seated fear that Dave's going to take my clients. Here's the thing I'm going to put out there. I don't want your clients. Got enough of my own that I've got to deal with, and they come to me naturally.
Yeah.
I don't need to go out and chase anyone else's clients. Okay? Because it's just, to me, it leaves a bad taste in the mouth. I was take workers from everyone else. There's certain companies that if you've worked for, I'm not going to take you from them because I've worked there. I know them. I don't think it's bad.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I'm a bit more realistic that way that I just stand with the exit and say, look, it's no.
Yeah.
And then here's why.
Awesome. When you look at where the business is going now, you've obviously diversified, as we said before, into a few different laneways. What do you see the future of support for where you're going at Coastwide?
In the NDIS space or over?
Well, just in general.
Okay, so for me, I've looked at it over the last couple of days. The aged care is going to pivot again next year because they're going to get rid of CHSP. So I've already started to look into ways that we could pick up them clients, but not have to actually do support with them because 99% of them people are going to want cleaning and lawn mowing. I'm not a cleaner and I don't own lawn mowers. But what I have is I'm the provider that can give you that. So I'm going to either subcontract that out to someone or I'm going to employ someone to do that.
Yep.
Right. So I already started a waiting list for people because no one's touching them on the coast. They're just sitting for years. No one's picking them up. With the new funding model that's coming in the SAH, there'll be funding there for them for us to pick up. So I've already looked at picking that up. Look, the NDIS for me, the best thing that I've heard about the NDIS is that 90% of plan management is going back to the NDIS. That means unregistered, you don't get to pick. So we're going to sit and pick up the unregistered providers because they're all going to jump. They're jumping out now. Before even the bills come through, they're jumping away, saying it's too hard. I don't want to do it.
They look many, it's going to be not viable for a start.
Yeah. So that's where I don't need to go and chase. They'll come to us naturally. I post enough on Facebook and LinkedIn about what I believe. I have 3 great people in my admin that have contacts in the business and they're quite prepared to go out and talk to. We get clients off that. So I don't see for us the new changes affecting us too.
Okay. You mentioned there about putting content out. Run us through your highly strategic content strategy.
Well, I've got 2. One's highly strategic, one's not. You'll know when I'm pissed about something because I get very, very, very cranky online. And then I have a voice in the back of my head called my wife who says to me, you probably shouldn't have posted that. But then I maneuver across to think strategically about what I just said. And I probably post more. But it's strategic about what I'm saying, about my beliefs, what we can do to make things better, things like that.
So basically you're taking something that might be a bit polarizing for people, which is either going to push people away or attract people to you, which is beautiful because now you know your tribe and who you do want to connect with. And then you follow it up with more information that is more aspirational around what to do about it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You haven't mentioned about just posting up your logo or telling everyone how much experience you've got or which line items you can bill yet.
No, I never will. I'll answer your question if you ask me about it. But
Yep.
I'm never gonna post the line on it. Never. And I can tell you right now, I've said it to you before. If you come at me and say I've got capacity, I ain't gonna talk.
Yeah.
I won't answer your email. I won't do anything with it. I don't care if you've got capacity. I care if you can help my clients.
Yep.
That's what I care about.
I think a good business creates capacity for the right people that it can help.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't have the capacity for the people that can't. Right? Awesome. What haven't I asked you about that you need to tell a story about?
I don't know. That's a good question. I suppose the thing comes from Tommy where he challenged me about, is you're still like an aged care facility? And he challenged me 5 days out from the summit, and he lived in my head for 5 days. And it's still sitting in the back of my head. And I'm now challenging my staff to stop thinking that way. I've actually lost staff over this challenge. They don't want to do that. They want to just live in that. This is when we do this. This is when we do that. This is when we do the other. I don't want to do that. And I'd like to be able to challenge the NDIS world that stop doing that. Almost like abuse. But what it is, when you think about it, when they done the Royal Commission on Aged Care, they called that abuse. And it's exactly what we're doing now because it's easier for our staff.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's easy for the staff. The same as when they say to me, oh, they don't match. Can't put together, they don't match. Well, they're individuals. Surely we should be providing support that's individualist. They always live in the same house. Doesn't mean you can't do support that's individualist.
I wonder how many people who have lived in share homes where they rented a room matched with the people in the house.
Yeah, I did match with my first one, I can tell you.
But it is interesting, and I understand where the idea came from. That we talk about participant-centric, client-centric, person-centered care. But if we're going to actually treat them like a person, a human, why are we treating them like a person with a disability that can't make a decision?
That's right.
Or why are we not treating them like everyone else where almost, I get in trouble with this one, you get what you get and you don't get upset.
I don't live that way. For me, nothing hurts me more than walking into a till home at 5 o'clock in the afternoon and everyone's sitting at the table. That's easy for that. So that's it. Support staff. Right? I have lost my shit over this at certain staff, and I've lost staff over this because they want to be up. They like the predictability of 5 o'clock dinner, 6 o'clock bed, 7 o'clock bed. Do you want to go to bed at 7 o'clock? Well, my wife would say, yes, she would. She likes to sleep, where most other people don't want to go to bed at 7. They want to be up doing nighttime things, watching TV, interacting with each other. I think it's almost like any of our clients that have a voice, we see them as trouble. But all they are is just someone with a voice. Yeah. That no one wants to listen to.
I think that we've massively overcomplicated choice of control and underutilized what an actual individual looks like.
Yeah, so let's look at choice and control. Right? A lot of people live in the choice and control world where you say to a client, do you want to do this? They say no. That's it. They've exercised their choice and control. Why could you not have the conversation? Do you want to do this? No. Okay, so if we don't do this, you can't do this, this, and this. Oh, I'll do that. Yep. Still not going against their choice of control. You're just giving them another option.
Yes.
Like we do in life. Like,
exactly.
Choice and control thing is, I think, for me, it was been designed for lazy support workers to sit behind. I can sit on the lounge and use my phone because they don't want to do anything.
Yes.
Right? No, they don't want to do the thing you're suggesting.
Yes. Have we had that conversation to find their communication?
Yeah.
We're going to find out what they actually want to do.
I don't understand. We've got clients who've got dementia, they've got brain injuries, and they don't 100% understand what you're talking about. But that's our job, to find out their currency and work towards getting them some quality of life.
Yeah. Friends of mine have a son who is not able to communicate through regular means. He uses a computer and he can't speak or anything like that. And at first glance, you would say, we can't communicate here, right? But if you ask his parents, they don't even need the computer. They know what he wants when he wants it. They know what he's like. And for a lot of businesses, it becomes about, oh, we don't know, so we're just going to make some decisions that are in their best interest. And whose best interest?
Yeah. In your best interest, not a client's.
Yeah.
Right? But your life is, I often talk about how you had ND. And towards the end of his life, he reverted back to speaking Italian. And he couldn't even recognize 1, 2, 3. Right? In English, it didn't compute with him. So I went off and I learned to count 10 in Italian. And then I taught all the staff count to 10 in Italian. The smile on his face when we went, "Oh, do it," and lifted him was phenomenal. I could have got through the rest of my life. Right? But when a 72-year-old Zimbabwean man counts to him in Italian, he cried because that guy took out of his time to learn that for him.
Yeah.
So he could communicate that. So it was an easy pickup. Didn't last long because his legs stopped working, so he couldn't do the lift up. So that was good. But the fact that we went and learned that, we went and learned his currencies, was his language.
Yeah.
Right? And like, it's really hard to sit down and watch an Italian movie dubbed into Russian with English kind of over the top, writing over the top. But we did that for 8 hours a day. So, yep. But that was his currency.
Yeah.
Right. So you have to, it's almost like the shift's not about you. It's about how he is together, working on. Like, and he was like all his life, he was a pastry chef. Who ended up being peg fed. I'd say all his life he's tasted food. Food was his thing. So what we did was, at his dinner time, we would sit down and we'd peg fed him, but we'd talk sort of 3-course meal because it was 3 shots in the pen. Yeah. So it was entree, main, and it was always peripherals and coffee at the end. Always. Yes. Because that's what his thing was. But it wasn't just for him, it was for his family who was in the background, because she loved to cook, but couldn't cook people in it. Yeah. So she got to be involved in that. And then the daughter would be involved and sit down, have a conversation. In the end, the daughter would say to me, "What are we having for dinner tonight?" And she'd try and cook that dinner and sit and have it with him. Yep. So as I'm talking through 4 cutlets, and then he loved filet mignon, she would make that meal on the weekend, and we'd sit down together and I'd do the peg and she'd have the feed. And he would, for him, it was like going back out to a restaurant. So it was a family time. He got that game out of it.
This really humanizes what the business of support is about.
Yeah. Right? It's not about just turning up and giving them a shower and putting them back in their clothes and putting them back in their.
Yeah.
There's more, there's people give. They're non-verbal, they're in a wheelchair, but find ways to feel it. And he had a speak thing on his like, mate, never used. Yep. But he spoke Italian, I spoke English, but we got to communicate. Because I started every shift, I'd walk in every shift, "Hey, Bryan." Bryan was like a close friend. And when I walked in the first time I said that, there was a connection. Yeah. And like, he was cranky a lot of the time. Never cranky at me. Never, ever. Oh, actually once. And I just looked at him and said, "We don't do that." And he went, "Sorry." And we was never cranky at me, but that's finding their cards.
Amazing. I love that. Thank you. All right. One little selfish bit for me.
Yeah.
Can you give us a rundown of, not specific numbers, unless you want to, but just what business's growth has looked like for you since Profitable Provider?
We've gone up $1 million.
Up $1 million. Yeah, amazing.
$1 million. We've clawed back our aged care, because when I started, we had 40, we dropped to 25. We're now back to 46. Yep. And that's purely on word of mouth. Because we don't advertise aged care very much, because we just don't. some reason. Nobody does. Labs. If you're a big provider who can afford radio.
Yeah, fair enough.
Because still we've gone from 1 to 3.
Mm-hmm.
Our coordination side is pretty stagnant. It's not gone up or down really a great deal, but our clients have gone up, I would say, gone up 50%. It's all there.
And when you started, you had to make some pretty big decisions as soon as you started.
As I said, it was a very toxic workplace. I had to move some people on it. I had to move some people on at some very challenging times of the year. And we made a decision that we knew we were going to lose money. It ended up costing us about $185,000 all up, including agency staff. But we had to make that change or we would have been out of business. Because it was very toxic.
So you made a decision which cost you money in the short run, but paid off in the long term. That was investment, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's about that, what the CEDA says to us, that thing is waiting for the right people.
Yeah.
So I went out and specifically interviewed for the people I wanted in that set.
Amazing.
Shit, I can tell you, I employed 3 people that run their own businesses. Still run their own businesses. Work for me and run their own business. Because I knew they'd understand business.
Yeah, amazing.
So I knew that they would not overbook hours. They wouldn't run us money up when they didn't need to, all that kind of stuff. They keep the shopping to a minimum, not just spend money because it's fair to spend.
Yeah. Love that. Awesome. All right. Thank you very much, man.
No worries. That was short and sweet.
Was there anything in there that you were not comfortable with or you'd want to redo or anything like that? With everything?
I don't do redos, but we're on improv.
I know. But I also know when you improv, it's possible to go somewhere you don't necessarily want to go on something that's going to be recorded.
No, I think I tempered the aged care thing.
Yep.
It's very controversial.
Yep.
I think people will, well, I know people are going to buck against it because they already have.
Yeah.
And I've sort of got that theory. If you're bucking against what I'm saying, you're doing it.
And anything, obviously for Barkeb's sake, anything that...
No, I spoke to you about this was happening, so that's quite happened. So.
Okay, cool. Awesome, mate.
Thanks.
Brilliant.